Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So today we want to take another editorial preview on Deepseek. All right, have actually prepared a series of editorials on some podcasts online and regarding Deepseek. All right, this is the newest chatbot that was built on the open source. All right, and it seems to be doing better than the chat GPT. As you can see on the screen, the flowchart, the Deepseek version 3, all the way down to the R1. All right, the R1 is the newest version of the chatbot, and it seems to be turning heads around the whole world. So sit back, relax as we take this editorial preview, and remember to be subscribed to this channel. Turn on the bell notification to get notified of such editorials as this and other technological skill set videos that I'll be publishing in the nearest future.
Hey friends, hope you're well. In case you missed it, Deepseek R1 has been making waves in the AI and tech scene. It's an open source AI model that was apparently developed for less than $6 million, a fraction of the billions of dollars spent by OpenAI and Google, for example, to create their AI models. The good news for all of us is that Deepseek's free to use and it's shot up the most downloaded app on App Store, surpassing ChatGPT within days. It's now one of the most advanced free and open source AI models we can use. I've been playing around with Deepseek R1 for a couple of days, and I have to say, it's game-changing, but it's not without its flaws. So let's run through what Deepseek R1 is capable of and see what the fuss is all about. So let's get up to speed. One of the main reasons why Deepseek R1 is so hyped is because it doesn't rely on expensive human-labeled datasets or supervised fine-tuning, which is how most AI models are trained, and it costs millions if not billions. Instead, Deepseek R1 uses a self-reinforced learning method without the need for human supervision and effort. You can think of supervised fine-tuning like teaching a child to cook by writing up a long and precise recipe and then showing them step by step, while reinforcement learning is allowing the child to sort of like experiment in the kitchen and gently guiding them when dishes don't turn out well. So they're learning through trial and error, and that's exactly how Deepseek was trained. And the benchmark results are incredible. On the AIME 2024 mathematics benchmark.
Now let's take a look at this table. First, you have the model that's in the first column to the left. You open up AI 01 mini, and then you open AI 010912. These are model versions. Then you have a series of benchmarks, how they perform based on certain open source benchmarks. You can see them from the AIME 2024 to the Math 500 to the GPQA Diamond, the Live Code Bench, and the Code Forensics, or Forces rather. So you can see that Deepseek R10 score line for each of these category is high, all the way from 71 to 86 to 95, 73 to 50. Wow, and that is quite very, very interesting.
Deepseek achieves 71% accuracy, while GPT-01 Mini achieves 63.6 accuracy, and on the Math 500 benchmark, it beats both 01 Mini and 010912, but it performs worse on coding tasks in Codeforce and Live Code benchmarks. But of course, there's much more to benchmarks, so let's jump onto the laptop and I'll show you what I found while playing with Deepseek over the past couple of days. So jumping onto deepseek.com, here's where you can create an account, or you can go ahead and download the app on your phone. But currently their servers are super slow because of the crazy demand, so I recommend avoiding signing up with an email. You'll be probably waiting forever for an email verification code, so I suggest logging directly through a Google account. So once you're in here, toggle on the Deepseek R1 model here. It's an advanced reasoning model similar to GPT's 01 model, but without GPT ChatGPT's O1's 50 message per week restriction, and also R1 is able to work alongside internet search toggle, this toggle right here, simultaneously, something I believe O1 still can't do yet. Okay, so R1 model uses the chain of thought prompting approach, which basically encourages the A1 model to break down the reasoning into simple to understand steps. This isn't new, but Deepseek R1 does this really well. So let's use this simple maths problem as an example. The first part here is the problem to solve, and the second is the prompt that I've added to show its chain of thought. So that's specifically, let's solve this step by step. For each step, explain your thinking and show your calculations. So hitting enter, you can see Deepseek thinking and reasoning with itself, and this is what makes R1 different. It transparently reasons through each step individually and figures it out in the same response in real time. Whereas GPT can often be sort of clinical and political, I found Deepseek R1 to be direct but also great at showing you the reasoning, and you can also extract the reasoning and send it to other AI models to something that's unique to Deepseek R1. The other cool thing is how Deepseek R1 solves hallucinations. So hallucinations is a term to describe when AI gives you an incorrect answer, and it's a big challenge with current AI models. But I've noticed that R1 is particularly good at understanding why it hallucinates, almost as if it's truly self-aware, and then it also corrects itself. So I started recording this specific clip here when I noticed that it gave me an incorrect answer to the vague question of what happened to Hershey's in 1998. It says Hershey's launched Almond Kisses in 1988, when in reality they were actually launched in 1990. So I pointed out the mistake and asked why it made the mistake. Because of its chain of thought approach, it's fascinating to see it run a search on this mistake, confirming why it made a mistake, and then it corrects itself here. Compared to other AI models, Deepseek R1 thinks way more naturally, almost human-like, and elaborates on its mistake clearly, so I highly recommend challenging R1 when it hallucinates, and give this a go yourself. It does seem to be slower though than ChatGPT 4o, especially when it comes to coding tasks. I've been playing around with creating games on Deepseek, like if we ask it to create a Tetris game and then take the Python code and run it in HTML, it takes longer than it would in 4o before you can preview the game right from the chat. So if you have coding tasks, 0, 1, and particularly Claude 3.5 Sonnet still does a better job overall and will help remove the need to debug as a coder. But if you're looking for a free option or an open source option, R1 here is definitely the way to go currently and worth checking out. So based on my short time with R1, I feel like Deepseek was probably trained on GPT-4o generated data. The responses on both models are eerily similar. And if you're concerned about privacy but still want to leverage Deepseek R1, you can actually run it locally. Because it's open source, you can download and use the Olama app to run this R1 model on a local server, so all your questions and interactions remain completely private rather than on the cloud. But it is a very large model, so you'll need a beast of a setup to run its full R1 model locally. It's roughly like 1,300 gigabytes of VRAM that you will need to run it fully, but there are distilled LLM versions of R1 that run on a single GPU. Version 1.5b in particular works.
Now here you can see the versions, and one thing I like about Deepseek is it was actually built on the existing models, like class inheritance, just like I've been saying in some of my technical videos. So there is object-oriented programming in this design. Now Coin has been existing, and L Llama also been existing, which is in use by Meta. Coin is open source, so Deepseek seems to update, or rather improves on the existing models of Coin. Alright, so and then it now beats the existing models, such as the one used by the OpenAI ChatGPT. And besides that, you can see the variants. You have 1.57 billion parameters. These are all parameters based capacities, what they can actually handle, all the way down to 67 trillion, or is it billion there? It looks like billions. So being open source is also an advantage, because if this thing is an advantage, if it is actually open source, that means improvements can easily be done, and that's one of the differences between closed source and open source. Closed source will keep itself in a loop, in a sort of static loop, and might not really it improve compared to open source. Open source, once it's open and people can make contributions to it, it gets better rather than completely closed source. So Deepseek took ChatGPT by surprise because it's open source. All right, it's based off from open source. I really wonder why some of these technology companies keep making their innovations private or overly private. Because if you don't have any hidden intent or agenda, I feel open source is still the best, because if there are problems, it can be solved by the community and returned back to the repository.
Find on my Mac Studio M2 Ultra, for example. So that's my first look into Deepseek R1. Clearly, some really incredible things happening in the AI space. When I began using Deepseek, I was skeptical, but very quickly realized it really is something special, considering it's low cost to build and it's free for users to use. It's a very exciting time in the AI space, and I'm keen to see how others like OpenAI respond to Deepseek. If you made it to the end of this video,
actually, the OpenAI's response to them, not long after this Deepseek broke the internet and people started getting the traction on it, I discovered that OpenAI ChatGPT started making some sort of adjustment. Now they have reasoning tab. They also have some features that they've introduced. That's why competition is very good. You see, competition is always a very, very good thing in the world economy. So if you guys enjoy this video, please remember to subscribe to this channel, turn on the bell notification. Until next time, cheers and all the best.